This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Let's rock and roll. We promised you Blaine Bishop. Stud. Flat out stud that would knock your pecker in your sock. Game. You know, Blaine, you did that shit. You knock the hell out of fools. 2-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, and he works for 104.5 The Zone, breaking it down and covering his Titans. How you doing, Blaine, man? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, what's going on, man? I appreciate that, big old man, the intro, man. That was fun times, man. I don't know if I would survive today. I'd probably be getting fined a lot more, so I'd have to change my whole game. The way they have to play. I had to play a lot smarter instead of just reckless abandon.
Yes,
that's for sure.
Yes. In today's game, by the way, how in the hell do they play defense, dude? Like, you've got to be like a pinpoint heat-seeking missile because you've got to hit a certain portion of the body. If not, you're going to get penalized. Too low, too high, you'll get penalized. It's the craziest thing to have to play defense nowadays.
Yeah, it's really hard. I think really it's about the head placement because at the same time, you're going full speed. You can't really control what they're doing. You can't control really what you're doing except your head. And that would be a tough, task for me. It would be something I have to consciously think about each and every practice and in games to make sure. And sometimes that can affect players. I know that first year it affected Michael Griffin a little bit, and he kind of missed some tackles just trying to make sure that he had his head placement correctly. So eventually, if that would have happened one time for me, I would have just said, I'm abandoning all that. I may have to just get a penalty or fined. One of the two. So it's tough. But hey, they're trying to make the game safer. And, refereeing is a tough job. I mean, everything is bang, bang. And we get to watch it on TV with the big screen and the slow-mo. And like they're sitting there seeing all of that. And they're not seeing that. So it's easy for us to, be the, couch heroes on, oh, that's a bad call, it's a bad call, but it's a tough job. And I feel for those guys because sometimes it's just like, man, what? I don't understand it. So more and more I sit in this chair, just like you, I start saying, man, being a referee is something that I do not want to even engage in because every week is now I'm complaining about, man, that was a piss poor refereeing job by the crew. And I just don't understand some of their calls. So you just don't know if they're emphasizing certain things or certain crews, or is the NFL trying to emphasize certain things. So every year is a new year. You just got to keep your eyes open and their call and have a relationship with them, which is what I did. I made sure I knew who they were, their names, especially around that, box area. So I don't want to make sure I didn't run into them because I accidentally kind of bumped into them at times.
And by the way, this whole thing, we're never really going to make this game ever safe. I mean, it's just, it's impossible.
It's a violent game. It's a violent game. No question.
I was kind of laughing when Byron Jones is like, well, he comes out after, says, well, no, this is a dangerous game. The pills and and it's like, yo, dude, we kind of know that already. I mean, it's 2023. By now we know this game. When you sign up for this game, you got to know you're not going to come away normal from it. You're not going to walk the same. When you wake up in the morning, something's going to hurt. You're going to have to replace something. I mean, it's just kind of unfortunate. Like if you work in a coal mine, brother, your lungs aren't going to be the best after a while. And if you're a cop, you're putting your life on the line. And if you're a fireman, you're putting your life on. There are risks with so many different jobs. It kind of goes with the territory. It sucks, but that's kind of life.
Yeah, right? you have to mitigate those, though. And I think all the information's out there now. So there's no, what you're getting into. There's no way around it. Now, how do you mitigate that is up to you, though. Whether you want to go, I don't know, you said the Byron Jones guy, I guess he took pills or whatever. Maybe you don't do that. Maybe you do some, something else that, is a little safer for you, at least on that side of it, because that's what you can actually control. And the way that the money they're making now, it's just, they can pretty much have all the resources they need to help themselves recover in a healthier way as much as possible. And then you get second and third opinions. They have a lot more options today. So yeah, I'm 11 surgeries later, but I seem to be doing pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how are you doing, Blaine? Because you had a hell of a career. You were in a collision position where you were knocking
Hmm.
fools out. So obviously you were delivering blows to yourself too at the same time. How is
Yeah.
your post life?
Yeah, I would say I'm fairly healthy. I've gotten back down here over the last couple years. Been a process, but really back to my college weight. And so I've kind of thinned out, leaned out, and more into which is what I did when I played, but I wasn't trying to actually lose weight. But I did a lot of yoga, meditation, and things of that nature. So I kind of just rammed that up a little bit and got into hot yoga, and now I kind of thinned out and leaned out, and I feel pretty good for my situation actually. And only really major thing, I never had any major knee surgeries or Achilles. That was a def thing to me. It's like, oh man, if I tear my Achilles or I tear my ACL, I feel like, oh man. So that never really happened. Only thing happened for me, as you mentioned, I was doing a lot of banging. So right now I need a shoulder replacement, but it's functioning and doing pretty well. At this point in time, I could still raise it up and move it around and do different things. So I don't think I'm going to do it. And if I hold off, 10, 15 more years, then it's going to be a little too late to even do it. Just from the rehab
Right.
part of it, and I had reconstruction twice with the shoulder in the off season, so I played through it. So that's my really only main issue. I had a couple scopes on my knee, couple scopes on my ankle, stuff like that. But cosmetic in the pro world as far as professional athlete that comes with the territory. But other than that, I had nothing else. I had finger surgery, to save it. So 3 pins put in there when I was playing. So I played like 4 years with a cast on my arm at some point. Uh, Straight 4 years straight, just broke my forearm. It just, and I laugh now. I played the next week and the guys missed 5 weeks. I just like, dang, was I just made a dumb decision? or, or was I built a little different? So
You were built, dude. The way you played,
yeah.
you were old
So it's a
school,
little
brother.
different.
You
Yeah,
were definitely old school.
yeah,
There's no
that's for
doubt
sure.
about that. By the way, are you happy that they're bringing back the Oilers uniforms? I believe for one game this year.
Absolutely, yes, yes, and I'm glad that Miss Amy. I call her Miss Amy. Adam Strunk, the owner now. She's been involved. It feels like it's a new organization over the last 6 years. When she's taken over after her father passed away, the great Bud Adams. And so, yeah, she's gotten that reconnected, and I think it was the perfect timing too for her, just to say, a tribute to the original Houston Oilers. I don't think at the time when we first moved here that was a good time because you wanted to embrace the new name, the new team, and
Right.
now is the time. So with the gear and everything else, I really do like that, and thought that it was way overdue a little bit of time. So it's good because those guys with the Oilers, which I play for both teams, they really don't have anywhere to go. I mean, like, where
Right.
do they go? They're not going to the Texans games. So yeah, so it's cool. She brought everybody in last year, former Oilers, and did a tribute. We had Oiler Titans hats and everything else, gear, and brought everybody in, had different functions or parties each and every day for 3 days. So that was really, really cool. Put them up in hotels and everything. So it was great for me to see some of the old players when I was a young buck. Like Warren Moon, I got to play with 1 year, and then Haywood Jeffries 1 year. So that I caught the tail end of old school, really elite level team. We went 13-3, lost to the Chiefs and Joe Montana in the playoffs my rookie year. And then they dismantled the team as the late Mr. Bud Adams said he would do if we didn't go to the Super Bowl.
Right. Right. Yeah.
He
Yeah. I
did
remember
tell
that.
us that in trading camp. Yeah, I was like, whoa, am I going to get cut? I was a rookie. I had no idea.
No,
Yeah.
I'm going to go on to have one hell of a career. Blaine Bishop joining us here on the program. All right, Blaine. So let me ask you before I ask you about our guy David Long that we just
Hmm.
got. Mike Vrabel, man, he is just
Yeah.
an absolutely fantastic coach. But
Hmm.
he does have an issue now, man. He's trying the same thing that a lot of teams are trying to resolve is that quarterback position.
Hmm.
Tannehill just wasn't the guy. We kind of knew that down here. We got the experience of it. You guys got it there. Then Malik, apparently he didn't convince enough, and then they had to go with Dobbs towards the end of the year. So talk to me. What the hell is going on with the quarterback position there? Because obviously that's a huge issue for Vrabel for him to solve.
Well, I'll start backwards here with Malik Willis. He has a long way to go. I've been saying that all season now. He's improved each and every time he's got on the field, but his maturation process of his development is going to take a little bit. Dobbs, who hadn't had, I think, a start in the NFL and only was here, I think, a week or two, and then they put him in the starting lineup as a starter, actually looked pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised. He had the calmness, he had the confidence, sharp guy, really sharp guy, smart. So I was actually impressed with him, and I think he solidified to me that he is at least a backup quarterback in certain schemes and systems. I wasn't even sure of that because he hadn't played, and I'm wondering why. But he had been in the league, bounced around for 6 years, so obviously he's got something. So he solidified that is a guy that should be in the NFL in a backup role. No different than some of the guys you just mentioned, the Minshew and guys like that. He's kind of in that category. Didn't know he would be. Athletic, can run as well, but his precision passing was actually impressive considering what I saw and watched in college when he was at Tennessee. Now, Ryan Tannehill, who I know I get the bun of all the jokes every time I go on Miami radio or any platform in Miami. Ryan Tannehill, I don't hold any grudges what he did, and I didn't watch him with the Miami Dolphins. Ryan Tannehill has been a good quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. He's been exactly what they wanted the entire time. Now, last season, he was injured. If you go look at his stats, you go look at his passer rating, and you watch him, you go, man, now, is he an elite quarterback? No. But is he exactly what they wanted? Consistent, there every game, a leader.
Game manager.
Right, he's a game man. He was a distributor, no question. And he didn't turn the ball over until, he got injured and tried to force issues. And they didn't have good players around him this past season. No big-time receivers, no nothing, really. No offensive line. I would have been throwing that thing and ducking. So let's say before that, though, he looked really good. And I'm going to say really good. Got him to the AFC Championship game, which I think most people in Miami would have never thought. I remember I went on radio there and Crowder laughed at me.
Yeah, but we're kind of giving Derrick Henry the credit more than Ryan.
Well, here's the misconception, though. That is not true. That the philosophy is to run the football. Here, I'm going to give you a good example. Not this past season, 2 seasons ago, Derrick Henry missed 9 games. Everybody went to a panic. I said, no worries. No worries. The team will be fine. They end up 13-3. They were fine. 9 games. Foreman, because it was about their offensive line. It's not about Derrick Henry as much as he is fearful once he gets in the open field because he's kind of a unicorn. I mean, there's not too many big running backs like that can run that fast.
Never.
But it was the scheme and the system that was going to carry them throughout. And they had utility running backs all across the place. So I'm not taking anything from Henry, but I am trying to give more credit to Tannehill than people want to think. Like they say, oh, okay, so if you trade Derrick Henry, the team will just falter. No, they will continue to function as is if they have quality offensive linemen. They will. It's Vrabel's scheme and system, and as you mentioned, he's one of the elite head coaches in the NFL. He is. He's up there. I mean, already. He's already in the upper lords of a Titans Oilers history, which is not a lot. I mean, it's not really hard, but he is. So
if he had a franchise quarterback, the Titans might be a Super Bowl winner already.
Well, here's where I'm going to go. I said Hurts was a franchise quarterback. People laughed at me before the season, right? So what actually is a franchise quarterback? What is actually a franchise quarterback?
A guy that can make plays in big time moments. And one of the things about Hurts that I give a ton of credit this year, his accuracy. He
improved immensely.
Mm-hmm. His ball placement was freaking beautiful this year. I give him a lot of credit.
Is Tua a franchise quarterback?
Yes. He just can't stay healthy. That's his problem. But he's a passer.
Right.
That's the thing I like about Tua. I think Tua is a pure passer. The problem with Tua now Tua proved this past year that he can play the game now. Yeah. To any of the doubters out there. Now he has to prove he can play the game the smart way and keep himself healthy, because I've done this already several times, and I'll do it with you. All his injuries, the hip injury, the 2 concussions this year, the 2 ankle injuries in Alabama, every one of them, 3.81 to 5.1 seconds. When he got injured now in that last Green Bay game, that was at the 4.81 second mark. What Tua has to learn is make your decision in 3 seconds and get the hell out. And don't be hanging around because you're not Mahomes. You're not Russell Wilson. You don't have those wheels that you can pull away from people. So since you don't have those wheels that you can pull away from people, you need to do what Joe Montana and Marino and Manning and Brady and all those statues did. Make a decision quickly and get the hell out. Those guys never held the ball. They made a decision quickly and they got out of it. And to me, that's what Tua has to do. He's kind of got to redefine his game a little bit and use his head a little bit more so he doesn't get hurt.
Right. Well, you know better than me. You're watching them. That's why I asked. But reason why I asked about what is a actual franchise quarterback, how lucky would you be in an organization if you got a franchise quarterback? You'd be really lucky. But how often are you going to get a franchise quarterback? So when we talk about game managers, can they actually then take you to a championship if you got the right pieces around them? Right.
Yeah, if your team is dominant, if you have the 01 Ravens, the 03 Bucks, the 16 dude, Peyton Manning is the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl.
Right.
The worst.
Right. Okay. Well, in this day and age, I don't know if you're going to get a dominant
Denver, Blaine, he couldn't throw for 10 yards, but that.
Oh no, we follow Peyton Manning, so we definitely know he's a lord here in Tennessee. So yeah, I followed that whole entire season. But can you have a dominant defense in today's NFL? So to me, it goes back to you don't have to have a dominant defense. You have to have a real good one, but you have to have pieces around the quarterback if he's a game manager. You have to have some stud receivers. You have to have a big time tight end, and you have to have a great offensive line and a running back. By the way, what we just talked about, Derrick Henry. So you can still win, and the odds are against you that you are going to get a franchise quarterback unless you tank a season. And you still may not get lucky to get one. Because you can draft one first round.
Right here. We haven't had one
since Dan Marino. I played against Dan Marino my rookie year. Yeah.
So
one of the best throwers in NFL history. One of the best throwers.
That guy, but we haven't had one since Marino, dude. That's it. That's
so
how
to
long
me.
it's been.
Well, so to me, then a guy like Tannehill and other players like him, if you put the right pieces around him, he can be that game manager. And then the only question that Tannehill did not do for me is make the big throw in the big moment, and that's what got him. Really, that's it. That's it now. And that's just like Jimmy Garoppolo did in the Super Bowl versus the Rams when he's with the 49ers. He overthrew a guy wide open, and that cost him in that game. So, and Tannehill did something similar. Now, that still doesn't mean he's not a good quarterback.
To me, Tannehill and Garoppolo have this thing that if everything's on script, they're solid. Yeah. But then when things go off script and you've got to kind of ad lib and things are going haywire, that's where I think those kind of guys struggle. And that's where the special dudes are special. That when there's chaos, because that's how I measure a great quarterback is I want to see you under chaos. I want to see what happens when the shit hits the fan and you've got to make a quick decision and what happens there. To me, that's when the elite quarterbacks are the studs. They
still can carry their team on a bad day, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
And he's definitely not that guy. But guess what? We can count those guys on one hand, literally. So the odds are against you that you're going to get that guy. So how do you get the game manager in time to sway him to the confidence level of a franchise quarterback if you put the pieces around him? And so that's where the Titans are today. And they don't have an offensive line, and they got one receiver who kept getting hurt, Burks, now left, and the rest of them are just good players. I mean, solid NFL players.
Yeah. No, it's you got to solve that quarterback issue, man. I know how it is because we've been going through guys left and right, and we're hoping that Uno can figure things out. All right, so tell us a little bit about David Long Jr. I've been talking about that now. Fangio is here, and Fangio's got that kind of defense that it's kind of a bend, don't break. It forces you to be perfect all the way downfield. So their safeties and linebackers have to be pretty elite cover guys. David Long, talk to us. Does he fit the mold against the run and against the pass?
Well, I can say this, and I only, ballers know ballers, and that's why I kind of connect with him. I know, I know people are going to see him and go, "What? This guy is probably 5'10". He was Big 12 Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, his senior year. Only reason why he didn't go high in the draft is because his height. You go watch him play. Soon as he got on the Titans, I kept begging, "Why isn't this guy playing? This guy is better than the guy we got out there." And eventually he got his opportunity and he did really well. This guy see ball, hit ball, but he's more than that. He can read and react to blocking schemes and what I call the triangle blocking scheme when you're in the middle linebacker, and can read it with quick twitch and get and beat you to the punch and with physicality. He is that guy. Now, and a leader, guy you look in the face in a huddle. He's all of that. And then he can blitz as well. I think he had a lot of sacks blitzing. Now, the only thing knock on him is he's had some muscle injuries. So he's missed 12 games, in the last 2 seasons. And I don't hold it against him because of his play when he plays. He's consistent, even in the passing game. They try to say, "Oh, he can't cover." Man, all of a sudden he starts making plays in the passing game all over the place. So I actually really like him now. I think at some point, especially for the price y'all getting him at, that's a steal. Now you're going to get your bang for buck, even if he misses some games because of some muscle injuries. Tissue. I'm gonna call him tissue, hamstring, calf. He was having that issue, but when he plays, he is the real deal. I like him. I like him a lot. He's a good quality player in the NFL, and he plays hard. I like guys, and he's consistent. The only thing wasn't consistent about him is his his body. Maybe it was because he's small, but tissue is not because you're small. He's a twitchy, fast guy like that, and so hopefully he gets over that. But that it is what it is. I like him in all facets of his game. I really do. I don't know about Vic Fangio and how he runs his scheme. More or less, we played. I think when he was with the Broncos a couple times. But I would assume that he can fit the scheme on the inside because he can fit any scheme, in my opinion. So they're getting a steal. I mean, really, for that price, even if missing games. Yeah, he's a good player. Good player.
His stats went up every year, no matter what, even with the games missed. And then I almost feel, Blaine, like this is a player that's ascending, actually. That is probably more like coming into his own. Am I right or am I wrong here?
Yeah, I definitely would lean that way because he played more each year, as you mentioned, but his last 2 years where he was the dude, and there was no question about it. So yeah, I think you can. And if he stays healthy, man, yeah, you talking about stealing? I mean, this guy should be getting at least 7 to 10 million per. And I mean, the way they pay him guys now, that's where he should have been, and they're getting him for 5 or whatever, the 5.5.
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
2 years, 11 million.
I think I got something there. Yes.
And talk to me a little. So you tell me he has. Slow down, everybody out there. I'm not comparing him to this guy. I'm just saying some of the athleticism to it. He has some of those Derek. Damn it! Now I'm brain farting. The guy from Tampa a few years back from the Tampa 2 defense. Derek
Brooks.
He has those. He has that kind of quality, that he has that range, that he can drop back quickly and he can go sideline to sideline, that kind of stuff. Because Brooks was like the key to that defense, really, to make it run. You had to have that linebacker in the middle that can really do those things. Not that this is a different defense than that one, but it still requires the linebacker to have a lot of that flexibility. You see some of those traits in him?
Well, I've seen some of those traits the last 2 years when they play in cover 2 and him getting deep down the middle of the field. Now, I'm not one to be comparing players, and I get what you're doing, but to a Hall of Famer. Derek Brooks could have played safety. He was as fast as I was. Now I
Right,
get
right,
what you're saying though. Can he do
all right,
those things
right.
somewhat in this defense? Yes, I
Yes,
believe
that's
he
all I'm
can.
saying. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Derek
That's all I'm
Brooks
saying.
was a bad man. I mean,
Oh my
he was all over the place. But I get
God.
what you want, the range and everything else. At least in cover two, the deep middle, he was definitely doing that. I don't know if they in our scheme, the Titan scheme, they didn't do a lot of man to man and like he was on tight ends and stuff like
Okay.
that. But
Okay.
as far as zone, yeah, he can do all those things. Yeah, I think he's gonna fit well. I think he can fit well in any scheme, but I think he'll fit well in Fangio's defense. Yeah, he'll be fine.
I got to tell you something, Blaine. I can't wait for practice.
Ooh.
X and Jalen Ramsey up against Waddle and Tyreek. I mean that alone, man.
you
That
you
is
know.
just gonna, that is just going to be fun to cover, man. Okay.
Oh yes. Well, Jalen Ramsey's from Nashville, so I've watched him since high school. And I told his dad he's gonna go first round in high school, and he was a track athlete too, so this guy could run and long jumper. He was everything. He was a phenomenal athlete. So for him get back there just the practices to see Howard, Ramsey versus Waddle, and those guys bring something different. Because they are not only quick, which is different, they're also fast.
Yeah.
So they have the combination to me that always would give DBs trouble. Because if a guy's fast, he's just straight line fast. Usually he's not really great at running routes. He's a good
Right.
route runner, but not a great route runner because he's trying to control the speed. And so they have that combination. So I'd love to be a fly down there in Miami and watch some of those practices and those battles because Jalen Ramsey is a battler and he is a dog and he will come at you. He doesn't he in practice and everything. He's just that kind of dude and he wants to be the best. So there's some things though. I watch him closely that he needs to sharpen up with his techniques and his eyeball. I'm interested to see how to use them. Hopefully they use him also in the slot and not just outside in passing situations because there's times where he loses eye discipline and wants to look in the backfield a little too much when he's playing outside corner, but that can be easily fixed, easily. And I think it's because he wants to be aggressive at time and wants to cover the best player on the team, whoever they're throwing the ball to. So sometimes you kind of, get a little too aggressive and you kind of go outside of what you're supposed to do as far as your regard as coveraging and your coverage than doing your job. So a little bit of that, but I don't fault him at all. But I love him as a player. I wanted the Titans to draft him in the first round and trade up to get him when he came out of college from Florida State, and naturally they weren't able to do that. So
I was talking about this. You tell me because you're a hell of a lot smarter than I ever will be in this. But I was thinking because Jalen's so big and talented at times, and we had a youngster here by the name of Cater Kohu, who came out of Division II, and I got to tell you,
I
his
watched him. Is that 28? What was his?
yeah,
What's his? Yeah, I
yeah,
watched him because I didn't know where he's from because yeah, he impressed me, and I was like, man, who is this guy? I've never heard of this guy. Looked him up and
this
saw he was
is
undrafted, and I was like, oh, and he was starting. I
Division
think it was
Two,
the Bengals game or
Division
some game.
Two,
It was on TV. Yeah,
yeah, Division II, and that some bitch is tough. And
yeah.
he is one of the best tackling corners I have seen here in the last few years. I'm very impressed with him. So I'm thinking at times they can put him to the outside if there's if there's a tight end that's giving you some trouble. I might put Jalen Ramsey on his ass. What do you think about that?
Ooh, that's kind of interesting. Uh, when you're talking about these pass catching, receiving tight ends, yeah, I think that could
Yeah.
be an option. Yeah, how big is the Okudo though? How is he like a
Oh no,
5'10"
he's
guy?
not. He's like 5'10", 5'11", I think it is.
Okay,
But he
yeah,
plays super athletic.
yeah,
Go look at the Ravens game, and in the middle of the field, he makes this block on Mark Andrews up in the air.
wow,
And you're like, whoa, I like this kid Kohu, man. So he'll be the slot guy. I think he'll battle with any of the other guys that they have for the slot. But I think at times I can move around. I'm thinking
yes,
Ramsey's one of those guys that
yes,
he's an X factor. You can move him.
yes,
He's a what's it called, Swiss Army knife. So I can have some fun
yes,
with him and move around a little bit if I had to. You
yeah.
know,
They're gonna have they're trying to figure out where they want to use him each and every game should be part of their game plan. As far as Jalen Ramsey, he's just a phenomenal talent. I kind of gush over him because I've watched him develop and grow all this way into being where he is today. And I'm just excited that he's back in Florida, somewhat to his hometown. You could say
Yeah.
since he went to Florida State and Jacksonville. So yeah, so I'm hoping he gets his game to #1 level as time goes on. I think in games he gets a little unfocused and bored. That's why I say they must have him in the game plan always.
Wait a minute. We lost Blaine there. We lost Blaine. We get him back. There we go. We got him back. All right, go ahead. I'm
Okay.
sorry. What'd you say
Yeah,
there?
so just to keep him engaged and so he doesn't get bored in games, he's just kind of that good guy. I mean, it's like Deion Sanders when like, oh, he's not going to throw over there, right? He go half a game, they don't throw over there, and then all of a sudden they throw over there and he zoo and goes and takes. I think Jalen kind of gets, okay, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna make a play some other kind of way.
Right.
So he gets that under wrap. You got to get him in the game plan and make sure he's involved, whether it's blitzing, covering the tight end in the slide, the best receiver on the team. He's got to be that guy.
Right. With Holland and those two corners, oh
Yeah,
man,
Holland.
the quarterbacks are gonna face some hell. All right, follow him on Twitter, by the way, at bbishop23, and of course you can catch his work at 104.5 The Zone, covering the Titans there. Blaine, thank you for taking some time as always, dude. You've always been real kind, whether it's serious or here on the platform. Thank you for always joining us, my man. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, big old man. Anytime, man. Anytime.
You got it, baby. You be good.
Thank you, man.
There you go. The great Blaine Bishop. All right, let's go.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.